I've been having more and more of a tendency to mix personal story and spiritual teaching, which in a way is not inappropriate. Rudy often referred to people in his life, in his business, as part of what spoke to him and taught him. And I definitely experienced that. The past week for me was cosmic on so many levels. And I want to share it with you, not knowing exactly what the aggregate of it will be, but on some level it was profound for me. And in no ways definitive or complete. But it sort of wanted to title today's talk, which often is something that arises, Apocalyptic Spirituality, which is perhaps sounds darker than it is. What it refers to is two things: the inevitability that none of us is going to survive this experience that we're in. None of us. Everything will be taken. Not only your possessions, not only everyone you love, not every thought that you've had, not only the identity that you think you are, what you think your life was about, how important or unsuccessful you may have been. It's all going to go. And it's either going to go with you saying goodbye, farewell, thank you, or with you going, no. Kind of your choice, kind of your practice, training. I had been invited to spend the last week in Washington, D.C. with Blanche, helping my son Ari pack for his move to Florida, where he's going to become a clerk to a federal judge in Orlando. And as most of you know, I've been having a lot of back pain. I'll talk about that down the road, but as I think I may have mentioned last week, I managed to get an appointment this past week in New York City with a major surgeon, which was not easy to come by. And I knew that I was not going to go to DC, and my wife was, and that I was going to be alone for the first time in many, many years. I cannot explain why, as I get older, I become more attached, and needful, and in love with my wife. But her going away without me was very hard, and her leaving me alone was very hard, because in the apocalyptic sense of things, I fear two things: death, kind of, and aloneness, perhaps more. I don't know my understanding of why I fear being alone, why it's somehow hard to reach out, but it's something I deal with and I work with. For many months, one of my oldest friends, Larry, was coming to visit. I talked about him last week. And he came, and I needed him to be here in a way to show him my life and to complete something. I don't know what it was that was to be completed. I didn't understand it, but his coming was very important. He came from San Francisco, Oakland, actually. And we had a wonderful, wonderful visit, and it was very completing. It was so completing, I thought, maybe this week is the last week of my life. Blanche was leaving. My body was deteriorating. My mind was going through all sorts of strange things. And I felt this may be my departure. Actually, the night everybody left, I had horrible, horrible chest pains. And I thought, oh, okay, this may be heart attack. Nobody's here, nobody to talk to. Nobody, I didn't want to make a phone call in the middle of the night. So if you all know me, those of you who know me, like the Hollywood guy, I wrote a farewell note to everyone I love, and explained what happened and how much I love them, and then I took a Rolaids and was fine. And I went back to sleep. The pain that I have been experiencing comes and goes. There are days it keeps me up all night, and it's horrible, horrible. And there are days or nights, let's say, where I actually sleep till about 6 or 7, pain-free. And I wake up grateful, just grateful. I never know what's going to happen. There are no rules. I can swim, which I do at my son's house, or I can go for long walks, or I can try these things thinking they may help. Sometimes they help, sometimes they don't help. There's no rules or laws. But all I can tell you is I was feeling this this emptiness, this aloneness, and this fear of aloneness, especially at night when the pain would start to announce itself. And I'm tired of watching almost everything on television. I tried watching the Olympics. Some of them were intriguing. Some of them I just couldn't watch. And I was feeling the aloneness and understanding what you might call cosmic aloneness, or singularity, if you will, that there is only one being. There is only one, and it is profoundly alone. And I wasn't sure how that aloneness dealt with things other than to probably manifest a universe full of others, like every one of you, and start to feel the population of others, giving it a sense of belonging and of comfort, of assurance, of community, all of that stuff, but knowing deep down in the apocalyptic sense, they're all going to go away, that it's all a creation, that none of it endures. And in the end, you are all alone. The universe is a oneness. The whole week became a meditation on that, and unfolding into, a flowering into aloneness. The worst day was Tuesday. I did not sleep so much that night. And I woke up, and I think most of you know I have had a Jungian therapist for years, and someone I talk to, she doesn't talk to me very much because I don't ever stop talking. But she's someone I can just kind of unload on in a way and explain much of what I'm trying to say to you guys. But I just talked and talked about all of this and not knowing how to proceed in this fear zone of being so fragile and by myself. And we talked about my beginning to just be proactive and reach out and begin to tell people, I need you. I need to be with you. I need to see you, anything like that. But the other thing was that maybe the universe would come to me. I hung up while we were FaceTiming. I closed off FaceTime, and I look at the very first message on my phone. And the very first message is from a man I met at a fundraising gathering for a local movie theater called the Upstate, at the very same day that the turkey slammed into my car. Why we went to this fundraiser, I have no idea. I told Blanche afterward, we're never going to another gathering like this as long as we live. It felt like small talk. We didn't meet hardly anybody, but we met 2 people at that gathering. One we went up to and started a conversation, which was proactive, was, I guess I could talk about this, the woman who was responsible for the life and career of Oliver Sacks. And if you watch the documentary on television about Oliver Sacks, you will know who she was. She was standing with a guy who was the editor of a major magazine and has had a massive life, public life. And we just started talking. Not a lot got said. I ended up showing him a photograph that I had taken that day, which intrigued him. I told him, my background a little bit. He told me his background. We never talked. We never saw each other again. Blanche and I left that night after this gathering, and Blanche has trouble hearing, so going to large public gatherings is not necessarily fun because she really doesn't hear. And I try to protect her in that, but it's hard. So we went home and had dinner, and that was that. Following the FaceTime conversation, I get this email from this publisher, editor, saying, he looked me up online, he loves my photographs, he drove overland from Europe all the way to Calcutta on a spiritual mission that took 2 years, that he loves the same photographers that I love, that we share all of these amazing things, including his wife's family knows my parents in Detroit, and she's from Detroit, and he's from Cleveland, where my cousins were all living. We had such a communion online. I couldn't believe it. And he said, we should get together. I said, okay. We planned dinner for Thursday night. And I sent his email to my therapist, who wrote back saying, well, this is how the universe works in a way. Things rise up. And if you are honest and real and express your need and don't hide yourself from the universe and you do the best you can, things happen. This man, it's such a long story. Before he came, I ended up going to the doctor to the nurse practitioner in New York City to have him look at my spine. You can tell I programmed this, guys. This is my spine. Does it show up on here at all? It is totally, totally degenerative. So much so that the nurse practitioner said she had no idea how they could proceed, and that I should come in and see the surgeon on Monday, which is tomorrow, which I'm going to do. She said, I have so much degeneration, they wouldn't know where to start to relieve the pain. And the only way they can do it is have him look at this, then meet with a pain person. I can't even meet with a pain person for another 2 weeks, who will do an intake and then propose a program for dealing with pain. So I have a good month of pain. In New York City, I walked through the city from the train station to the doctor's office on 51st Street and back to the train station later, thinking that might be good for me. That was not good for me. And I thought New York looked like a madhouse. I have never seen New York look like it looked to me. Maybe it's because I haven't been there in 2 years, but I just felt I am seeing a picture of the coronavirus universe as it's affecting everyone. It felt very, very alien and problematic, and I was profoundly grateful to have a house in the country away from everything and to live this quiet life. I came back from all of that, and the next day I could barely walk. I could barely get out of bed, and I still have enormous trouble moving in the morning. Strangely enough, after breakfast, I'm fine. Again, I don't want to be presenting medical stuff to you, but what started to happen that morning and has continued to happen is a opening and a flowering of such profound dimension that involved saying yes to pain, to suffering, to totality, to the apocalypse, to my own demise, a complete sense of it's okay. I am ready. The bird, that stupid turkey, announced to me that yes, it could happen like that. Maybe not. Maybe I'll end up being crippled. Maybe, you know, I was so inspired by Ram Dass when he had his stroke. And he said I was stroked. And he lived life debilitated from then on. And I realized I may, in fact, have that. Mm-hmm. So I had to think about what that meant. And what happened inside, I cannot explain, except I felt joy in being on a level I have never, ever known before. And trust me, I have had massive elements of joy. I don't know that this is a permanent condition. I don't think anything is a permanent condition because it's all going to go away. But I fell in love with everything and everyone at a dimension and a level I have never, ever known before. And what it involved more than anything was absolute and total acceptance of you as you are. Mm-hmm. And knowing, yes, I could be there to help. I could help love you. I can do certain things with the guidance of something I don't understand that will actually maybe fix problems inside, little problems, you know, obstructions, fears, tensions, holding patterns. That's something really kind of gave me. And it works. I don't know why it works. But the bigger thing was, there are many people who cannot be fixed in this lifetime certainly by me, or even by life experience. Many people are going to experience real hard times, real suffering, apocalyptic lives, lives that don't add up, lives that don't have the kind of joy and possibility in them that one would like. Two things, however, that have manifested out of the nothingness of being, among the other things I talk about, like love and joy and beauty and truth, hope and faith. For some people, that's all they got. Hope and faith. And let me tell you, if you can hold on to hope and faith, you are connected to supreme. The word salvation is coming in. I don't know. Perhaps that's the right word. But you are connected to what you need to be connected to. Hope and faith are for some people all they get. On the other hand, it is possible to have and know this exquisite, simple truth that being is miraculous, that being alive is beyond anything any of us can grasp or understand. And even in its worst moments of suffering, it is exquisitely potent and valuable and meaningful and lovely. And it will all get taken away, and it doesn't matter, because this very instant, this miraculous moment of now is an import of, an impact of all there is. All there is. This is nothing new, guys. Nothing new on what I'm saying. But I will tell you, the experience of it is phenomenal. Phenomenal. And I think I scraped my toe in my son's pool and my toe turned black. And I, by mistake, mentioned that to my doctor on the phone. Get to the emergency room right now. So the other day, after all of this other stuff, I'm in the day this guy, this publisher was coming for dinner, I'm in the emergency room all morning. It really was just a scrape in the end, although they did an x-ray and discovered more problems in my feet. So I went, okay. And then while I'm sitting there with this understanding that I have more problems, I tried to order food for dinner that night, and the restaurants closed on Thursday. So I discovered, well, I'm very close to another Indian. I wanted Indian food. I don't know why. I'm very close. I'm in the ER. So I'm ordering Indian dinner, and everything that I wanted they had. When I'm all done with the ER, I go to the restaurant. As I'm getting out of the restaurant, I meet these friends I haven't seen in years, walking down the street, who want to get together, and I'm going, this arising this arising of goodness and kindness and care and compassion via the universe. The universe doing all of this is remarkable. Dinner that night was wonderful. This guy he knows everyone in the world, so it's kind of really interesting. I have a Bresson photograph downstairs that I love. It turns out that this guy spent quite a bit of time with Bresson, that my photograph was Bresson's favorite photograph, interestingly. And so we had this dialogue, this connection, and I'm feeling the vitality of everything. And then I'm getting closer and closer to Blanche coming back home, and I'm driving around picking up stuff the next day, and everything is in alignment in ways that are like unbelievable. But I have learned one major lesson. I've repeated it before. If you're driving and every light is green and you're so cocksure that every light is green, you're going to go on forever, and then boom, red light. That always happens. So I am completely aware of everything that I'm saying being, I don't know if tomorrow will be this or not. I do not know, but I do not care at all. I do not care. I have come to understand something phenomenal. One, we all die, mostly in pain, and we're going to have to learn to deal with it, one way or another. And that pain, as awful as it is, has opening properties that are needed to be dealt with. And you're not going to avoid it. And when you finally go, okay, in some fundamental, deep way, life is different. You are going to die. You may die in climate change problems. You may die of COVID change problems. You may die because there's an uprising in the American political system. Who knows? Who knows what will go on around you? I mean, yes, there's drama, and there has always been drama. Once you accept that, then go about your day and watch what happens. Watch the simple things. I drive down the streets of this area in awe of the beauty of it. And I'm talking summer, autumn, winter, spring. I think about you guys, all of you there, all of you here, and my heart opens because you are among the few people able to hear what's being said here. And it's important because it's transformative, because it has real value. I also know that we're all deeply, deeply conflicted, obstructed, incomplete, and fragile. Every one of us. And we're not going to change that. None of that gets altered. What gets altered is this little thing inside that goes, okay, nothing I can do about it. Might as well have a good time. Good time meaning you may not have a good time, but a good time means whatever it is, a nice ride through the country, a nice piece of whatever, cookie, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. And I also understood something, and I articulated it to Blanche last night when she came back, and oh my God, was I grateful to have her come back. And her suitcase came off the train long before she did for some reason, so I grabbed hold of her suitcase like it was Blanche, and I just held on and held on. And then she came, and I am beyond grateful for my partnership in this world. Anyway, what came was a very strange line. And I wanted to repeat it to you because apocalyptic spirituality has a dark side to it. And there's another side to all of this, and that is a very interesting word, ourself. Ourself. I've never used it before. I don't know anyone who does, really. Maybe you do. It's almost always myself, yourself, the self. Rarely is it ourself. And what I understood for the first time, and really do understand and am actually experiencing, this is ourself. There is no myself. There is an ourself. And that ourself is a singular collective. And we are living it together, and we are integrating it, we are moving through it, we are weaving in and out of it, but we are ourself, not plural, singular. And it is really powerful, because when you know you are ourself, you live differently in relationship to everything. And the myself part that gets in the way of ourself starts to dissipate, or maybe even just disappears. I have no idea. I'm making no pronouncements of, my arriving at perfection or anything like that, but I have begun to witness ourself. And ourself is something worth loving. It's worth loving. It's so unbelievably sweet and beautiful. And we are all amazingly imperfect parts of that. Amazingly imperfect. And for any one of us to try to make somebody else perfect in it, what a waste of time. Will not happen. I don't care who they are. You can barely make yourself perfect. You can't. There's no way. You are born as a construct in a physical world with a lot of input and a lot of sort of directives. And it's hard to get out of that. And I'm watching my grandchildren building their beings out of all of this. And I'm like, no, don't add that. Don't do that part. That's not going to help you. And they're doing it. And I go, there's nothing I can do. Nothing. They are going to live this thing out, and they are going to suffer for it. And they are going to have difficulties, and they are going to have wonderful things come out of it. It turned out that the day of my operation was my cousin's 79th birthday in New York, and we ended up going to have lunch. We didn't know where we were going to go. And we walked by this unbelievably beautiful restaurant that's in this, like, I don't know how to describe it, but open, not outside, inside, but open to the whole block long. And it's got, these palm trees and lights, and it's her birthday, and I only had an hour and a half to get together. And she brought her granddaughter, who I love, Shira, my cousin Joni, since we were little kids. And we just sat down to this perfect lunch at a place that just manifested. And we just sat there and loved one another. We loved one another. And my what do you call it, great cousin? I don't know. Shira was one of the most physically beautiful women I've ever seen as a little girl. And then she ended up putting on weight. And the weight got in the way of her having what you might call a romantic life, which would have given her in an instant everything that people who are really beautiful want and get. And my cousin Joni once said to me, well, it was her psychic way of avoiding that life. And I felt that, because when I'm sitting with Shira, and I have known her for years and years, and she's now gotten much thinner, not that I'm judging any of that, but the person she has become by avoiding that arena of just being beautiful has made her so authentic, so real, so introspective, so smart, so alive to life. And I saw something made a choice in there. I don't know what made that choice for her. It just said, nope, you're not going in the program direction. You're going to go in a different direction, and you are going to find something extraordinary. And she has. I got a call from a friend of mine in California saying that his particular career is over. His film career is over. He has never gotten a movie made, and his last shot at it was over. And he was so, in a way bereft, but also going, oh, well, what are you going to do? And I looked at this person, and again, all I saw was, had he had his career, I know exactly who he would have become. I know exactly. And he would never have found this remarkable authenticity that he has as a person. And I've watched his life unfold, because he and his family were dear friends for years in California. I would not wish him not having a career. Careers are interesting. But what I saw, and not just in him, because I see it across the board, most people don't have the Hollywood career. It doesn't manifest that way. And the ones who haven't gotten it are the deepest, most real, most wonderful of all the people I know. The people who have gotten it, other than Jerry Zucker, who I love dramatically, and was the director of Ghost, he got it. He somehow got it. For me, Hollywood having a career, having whatever it is I had, was really in truth the foundational element of ego destruction. Everything I wrote was beaten up and redone, and all these awful things happened in writing movies in Hollywood that were really painful and essential to my spiritual development. You cannot tell that to people usually because they think they're going to be famous and known, and they're going to walk around with, whatever they win, and they're going to be somehow loved and acknowledged. I do not reference my Hollywood life at all. It does not come up in my daylight, in my daytime. It's not part of an established person. It's just this thing that was and has fallen away. My childhood has fallen away. My whole life growing up in Detroit and all the other places I went to, I mean, it's there, but it's not referenced. And I say all that to you because this journey that I am on, and especially in the pain moment, is wiping me clean. It's wiping away all of that. I'm not angry at anybody. I don't regret anything. I don't have any missed opportunities in my mind. It's done. So what do I have? What do I have? You. I live in a really nice place. I love driving around. My grandson did a performance in a show yesterday at a camp, and it was part of a wonderful show with these kids doing Broadway songs. I was pure heaven with that. I stopped and bought myself some a tuna melt, which I brought home, and it was delicious. And I only ate half of it because I don't eat whole things anymore. And I don't care if I throw away half of it. I don't care. I just went, this is what you have in this moment of time. This is who you are. This is what is. And the amount of joy, gratitude, and awe for each of these moments is beyond anything I have ever known. And if I, whoever I am, this kid from Detroit, can have these expansive moments of prayerful gratitude, everyone can. Everyone. I'm in no way unique at all. The only thing that I have that may distinguish me a little bit is I committed early on to post-LSD telling people what I saw. What I saw on LSD was that we are nothing, tiny, minuscule beings, and that we are part of something that is incomprehensible, vast, infinite, and eternal. I saw that. I know that. And when it speaks to me, which it does, and it says, give up your job as a film editor at NBC and go to India and look for a teacher. When I didn't find a teacher, it said in a Tokyo record store, you need to find somebody to love, thanks to Grace's Slick. Don't you need somebody to love? Yes. I came back to New York, saw George and Cheryl. They said, don't you want to meet somebody? You know the story, you've all heard this. And Blanche arrives. And then, I'm a curator in a museum in New York, and Rudy died. And this voice says, give that up and move to an ashram in Indiana and be nobody. And I did. Why? Because they said so. When I went out to Hollywood to see the premiere of this film I did called Brainstorm, which nobody went to see and critics hated, I had lunch with my friend Brian De Palma, who was starting to make it there. And he said, if you want a career in Hollywood, you got to move here. I went back to Cal, Illinois with Blanche, and she put our house on the market and said, we're moving to Hollywood. Why? Because we were following some kind of directive. That directive is available to every one of you. It's not special to me. The only thing that may be special is I listen to it. And I'm still listening to it. And what it's telling me right now is you're not special. You could die at any second. that wonderful wild turkey made it very clear that it could happen at any second. This pain I feel every morning says you are mortal and you're not going to be here long. I mean, you may be here a while, but you're going to be in pain. And pain is not, it's what Rudy said. Pain is God's gift. You explain that to me. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get anything. And if anything, I'm becoming stupider as we go along. I know less and less, and yet it doesn't stop me from talking. So I think I have kind of told you the story that I needed to tell you. I don't know what it adds up to, really. And I also, as I say week to week, and people say, don't say it, I can stop tomorrow. I have no need. Nobody here is paying me. You're not supporting this whatever this thing is I'm doing. I'm just doing it because they said, sit here and do it. So I'm doing it. And also, I really, really love you guys. So that is, that's the story for today. It's two things. Apocalyptic spirituality means you are going to die, and ourself means we are one thing together. And if you take away nothing else but that, take it away. And the thing about dying, you've got to face it. You have to face it, because if you don't, you're not going to be happy when it arrives. You're going to have a hard time. You don't want to have a hard time when it arrives, because you've always known it was coming. All you want to be able to do at that moment is go, so, yes, thank you, or whatever. And as for ourself, just look around you and stop thinking about you. Stop thinking it's about you. It's about us, the collective. I'm going to talk about one more thing in a minute, but are there any questions?
Bruce.
George.
Bruce?
Yes.
Just want to add one quick thing. During the meditation, I experienced something new, and it was simply, I am this.
Yes. Well, you are. You have always been that, and you're closer to it than a lot of people I know. That's all I can say, because you're one of the most loving, giving, extraordinary people in the world. Not that everyone else isn't, but you kind of lived it. You've lived it, and you express it over and over, and I have always been awed by that. So you are that, but we are all that.
Yes.
We are all that. And I will also say, and trust me, I don't understand this blabbering motor mouth character that sits in front of you is coming from a place that I don't question. And it's coming louder and stronger, and will continue to do that until they pull the plug. So that's all I can say. Listen or don't listen, I don't care. But I really love you. If any of you need to be loved, come call me. Come over. I'll hug you. I really, really do love you. George.
I just want to thank you for your teaching on impermanence, because that's what it is.
Well, impermanence is at the core of the Buddhist teaching, of course. And yeah, I mean, it's one thing to say it. It's another thing to go, oh, and to know around the next corner. That could be that. And I drive more carefully, but I am still aware that other people don't.
Enjoy the ride, and why were you driving this?
Yeah, yeah, enjoy the ride, and more than even enjoy it, witness it for what it is, which is, it is, I mean, the word miracle comes into play. The problem is evil, darkness, pain, suffering. What do you do with that? Well, the best I can say is accept that it is, and two, help alleviate it in others, because they're having it too. And how do you do that? Go back to the Dalai Lama. Be good, be nice, be kind.
Bring your friend pastrami.
Yes, bring your friend pastrami. That's exact, and it works, George. It works. So that's really it. Anyone else? I don't see anybody's hands. Okay, so one last thing. I'm going to send out a mailing next day or so from George's son, Daniel Subkoff, about Rudy's shrine in Big Indian. It is having physical problems. It's dilapidated and needs help. And the kind of help it needs is financial. And I don't ever ask for money usually, but we did once to buy a lawnmower to mow the lawn around the shrine. And every one of you was wonderful and helpful and helped provide for that. So I'll send out this email. Mostly I think it gives addresses for Daniel and others where you can send a donation if you want. I think they need about $3,000 or $4,000 to do it. And the workmen are not taking any of it. It's all materials. So when you get it, if you want to help out, that would be great. That's all I can say. You know, we don't charge money for this, but this is the lineage. Rudy's lineage is essential to everything that's being taught. And talking about lineage, today's an important day. Do you mind handing me that painting? The Nityananda painting, right there. Today is Nityananda's Samadhi Day, which means the day that he died. Thank you. Oh my God, let's take it back. This is Nityananda. This is a painting by Wendell Field. Get myself out of the way. This guy, you can see he walked around in his underwear. I think he had terrible arthritis, probably worse than mine, probably much worse. He slept on concrete. Maybe he had a rug. I have put my forehead on that concrete. It's hard. And it's because of him, and Rudy met him only once for one day, and his life changed. And Rudy was on his way to study, I forget where, but Nityananda said, go home, go back and go back to where you came from. And basically told him to do what he's already doing, it's to teach what he knows. And Rudy did. And here we are, all these years later, because he paid attention. Thank you. So I'm not a big, I don't know what the word is. I'm a traditional guy. I don't do tradition well, but I try to light a candle when I remember. When I teach, I try to bring flowers to the altar when I teach. I say thank you to Rudy all the time, but there are occasions where you can actually stop and sit and go, thank you for all you've given me. You can do that. And today is the day for that with Nityananda. And he was a great guru. There are many, many, many people around the world who were disciples of his. And he's known for, miracles and things like that. I've never known what to do with miracles. I have no idea. But, when I got that email the other day from this editor, I came as close to a miracle as I could imagine. Running into friends coming out of the Indian restaurant was a miracle. Having you guys show up here every day is a miracle. That Jennifer was able to come all the way from Boston and show up is a miracle. And I see them all around me. And you don't have to look for the walking on water ones in order to appreciate the world we're in. You don't. The miracles are everywhere. And I'll try to keep this thing going. I keep thinking every class could be the last one. I wouldn't be sad if this was the last one in terms of I've said what I wanted to say. I know it's all a little bit, colloquial and personal and story driven, but it does touch on the larger elements of our life. And the larger elements of our life is that our story is our life. And what happens every day is our life. You slip and slide in the bathtub, that's your life. And to walk around and think that you're waiting for, the enlightened moment and everything is going to just suddenly, open up and there won't be any more suffering or any more whatever. Good luck. I guess it can happen. I think it probably does happen, but I like this part. You're my miracle. Thank you. Love to you all. California next week. And I'll be back on the East Coast in 2 weeks.